read between the lines. Got to read. Got to read between the lines. Well, the truth is very simple, very hard to find.
Hello everybody, welcome to another edition of What's Going On. I'm your host, Tom D'Ambra. As always, we are very thankful you take the time from your busy day to view our program. My friends, I'd like to give a shout out to a gentleman from Arizona by the name of Tyrus. Tyrus, I want to thank you so much for your kind words. I want to thank you for having the courage to do the research that you're doing. And this is how we're going to turn our nation around into a common law, constitutional republic by doing the activities that you are doing. Your courage and your thirst for knowledge, I applaud you, Tyrus from Arizona, and I want to thank you for making contact with us and just having the gumption that you have, the courage that you have to do the research that you are. Thank you so much. God bless you. And keep up the fight, my friends, because we are going to turn this around. Okay, let us start with a quote from Louis T. McFadden. Now, a lot of you remember Louis T. McFadden. He was the chairman of the Banking and Currency Committee. He tried to warn the American people for a lot of years with regards to what the Federal Reserve was, more particularly what the Federal Reserve wasn't. I know some of you get tired of me talking about the Federal Reserve and the lack of money system, but you have to understand, my friends, as Amschel Rothschild said, give me control of a nation's currency, I care not who makes its laws. And what he's talking about here is that if you control the money system, you control everything. If you control the purse strings, you control everything. And as government, particularly the federal government, exploded in growth in all different avenues and segments of our lives, from the food we eat, the air we breathe, providing for one's family, all of it, labor, all of it. Believe it or not, and we've explained this many times in this program, is all controlled through the issuance of the currency. Every segment of your life, especially now, is controlled through the manifestation of the medium of exchange and also through the mechanisms of government. Government, my friends, the federal government is not supposed to be involved in the states. Now, some of you young people who haven't been indoctrinated in the public fool system are shocked by this. You believe that the Constitution mandates that the federal government has a superior position to the states, and the states to the cities, and the cities to the counties, and counties to the people, and the people over God. But it actually, in the beginning of this country, and the format of our law, the format of our money, the format of all of it is, believe it or not, based on biblical principles. And one of them, not only just our law systems, before the bankers took over our law system with a commercial venue of law that we have today, law mercantile, but even our law before March 9th, 1933, when the corporation United States Inc. went insolvent to another corporation, Federal Reserve, that was all done by controlling the issuance of the currency. So what this gentleman here, oh, by the way, this gentleman was poisoned to death. This is not, make-up. This is not wacko news. This is real. This is through pathological autopsy work that this gentleman was poisoned to death. This is a man in the know, my friends. Let's listen to what he had the warning to the American people. This is one of many. Louis T. McFadden. It was a carefully contrived occurrence. International bankers sought to bring about a condition of despair so that they might emerge the rulers of us all. And that's exactly what they have. What is he talking about, a contrived occurrence and brought on by the international bankers as a condition of despair? He is talking about what you know as the Great Depression. As Charles Lindbergh Sr. said, rises and lows, busts and booms, recessions and depressions can now be created as easily as figuring out a mathematical equation. See, we've been taught to believe, and subconsciously we believe that this is a natural occurrence of like the tide on the ocean, you know, in and out, high and low. That's not how it works in the money system. But what they had to do was they had to get us in a condition of despair, as Mr. McFadden is telling you. And what did they do by bringing in the condition of despair? They changed everything in our system of government, in our system of law, in our system of education in the future, in our system of the encroachments and limitations, not only in law that are mandated by the Constitution, but also by the thinking, the mindset of the American people. It was a slow encroachment to tyranny, and this is where we are now. The federal government is not supposed to be involved in law enforcement. The federal government is not supposed to be involved in anything in your lives, unless you live in territories, districts, or enclaves. Well, there's only one district in the continental United States. That's Washington, D.C. Why is the federal government involved in every aspect of your life? Why are the states answering to the federal government when the Constitution plainly, clearly demonstrates it's the states in a superior position? My friends, understand this is a web. It's not just about the education, all the law, all these bureaucracies. All the genesis of all these agencies, of all this corruption, of all this tyranny, of all this debt, of all this indoctrination, of anything that you wish to understand and research and understand the encroachment by the federal government upon the people of this land. All of it. The genesis of it is the control of the issuance of the medium of exchange or the currency. This is what Mr. Louis T. McFadden warned the American people about over and under 100 years ago. In 1932, he said that they are going to bankrupt the American government and that basically that we are going to be slaves to these people. He said that in 1932 that they were going to bankrupt the government to where our money would be nothing more than irredeemable paper. What happened on March 9th, 1933? You became bonded through the birth certificates. The gold and the silver was not only taken out of circulation to back the money, it was by force of decree of violence taken out of your personal possession. Executive Order 3401. Your property, through Senate Document 43, became liened. You no longer owned it. You no longer had a allodial title for your land. You now had a certificate of title for your land, your property, your children. So understand, my friends, the genesis of all this. If Mr. Trump or anyone wanted to undo the shackles of slavery that are based upon the American people right now, the key to turn the shackles and release it is for the federal government to issue non-interest-bearing script. I understand that the federal government can't issue money anymore because money does not encompass debt. Money, there has to be some intrinsic value backing it. While the federal government owns no land, the federal government owns no gold or silver, the federal government is an insolvent corporation, a bankrupt corporation. So it's a debtor in a commercial law system, as you are, as I am. So we can't own anything. They cannot issue anything of true value, my friends, because they have nothing to collateral. There's nothing to collateral. Okay. Let us continue. We have some good news today. This is great. I was very excited about this. This is from Natural News, Mike Adams' site. U.S. Court of Appeals, state and counties can ban GMO crops despite federal laws. The entire organic community of the United States just won a massive victory that many have not yet even realized. Even though the DOC Act, and we read some of the portions of the DOC Act to you, was passed by the Obama administration and some Senate goons to prohibit labeling of GMO nationwide, the U.S. Court of Appeals just passed a law that enables states and even counties to completely ban genetically engineered crops from ever being planted in the first place. Folks, think about this for a minute. Back in the year 2000, Monsanto undermined all U.S. organic and conventional farming by claiming that manipulating genetic material of plants did not introduce dangerous bacteria or even plant pests into the equation, but their noxious Frankenfoods prove otherwise. So biotechnology giants figured a way to not have their cancer-causing, Alzheimer's-causing, pesticide-laden plants classified as a risk to the environment or humans, but now none of that really matters. Thanks to the U.S. Court of Appeals and their recent interpretation of the Plant Protection Act, listen to this now, all states, counties, and even local communities can actually ban and or regulate the planting of any and all commercially grown, genetically engineered or modified crops, no matter what the feds or Monsanto claims about GMO. Folks, this is a huge victory. Huge. Farmers with seed sanctuaries around the country are celebrating this huge victory because they know exactly what it means. No farmer in America who has any lick of common sense wants genetically engineered seeds that contain pesticides in their makeup. It's bad enough that 90% of the U.S. corn, soy, sugar beets, alfalfa, and canola are all GMO. We don't need biotech corporations controlling all seeds and crops. This new court decision sets a precedent and puts in place a powerful fulcrum for stopping Monsanto and Bayer and many others in their tracks, literally. If they can't plant or grow their Frankenfoods on our soil, they can't ruin the surrounding environment that's full of natural and healthy life either. The court recognized the potential destruction of the environment and farmers from the widespread planting of Franken crops, citing well-documented concerns including adverse economic impacts caused by transgenic farming on non-GMO crops. Folks, what they're talking about, this transgenic, there's been a lot of suits, and we read these to you. I was so outraged. What was happening is that farmers who were using GMO crops, particularly from Monsanto, went to court and said that their pollen was going across over their non-GMO farming's land and that they were contaminating, and so the farmers wanted to sue the farmers that were using the Monsanto stuff, and if they want to sue Monsanto. Well, Monsanto's got all these judges paid off. All of them. So what happened was the judge said, no, the court said we're going to deny this. You're not going to be able to have any financial gain because this is a natural process of the pollen carrying over. And we read that to you. What did we read to you some months later was that Monsanto sued the farmers that were non-GMO and went after Monsanto for their pollen affecting their non-GMO plants. And the very same court ruled in favor of Monsanto because those farmers were using Monsanto's product without paying or permission from Monsanto. Remember, we read that to you verbatim. I know it sounds crazy, but it is crazy. And that's exactly what took place. Anyway, my friends, I'm running a little bit out of time, but this is great, great news. Let your local representatives know. Let them know that, hey, listen, we've got a victory here. And the courts, for the first time in a long time, have actually been in favor with the people. I was shocked when I read that. Okay, let us continue. I had spoken to you folks quite a bit about what was going on with Vault 7. We've been continually reading information to you from Vault 7. I will tell you some of it I haven't been reading because this pedophilia stuff just absolutely drives me crazy. I don't want to start, ranting like a lunatic here on the air, but I don't think anything disturbs me more. I understand we're being raped, pillaged, dumbed down, poisoned, and everything else that they're doing to us. But what they're doing with the pedophilia, I have a very hard time with. But one of the things that's coming out with this Vault 7 is that we're starting to understand that anything with an RFID chip in it is supplying and supplementing and transporting information to a collective server. The last one we talked about, we read to you verbatim from Vault 7. This is so hard to describe, and I want to tell you the reason why, because I am digital and computer illiterate. So what I want to do is just read to you some segments of people who are a heck of a lot more educated than I am with computers. And there's a lot of this in this Vault 7, but let me read this to you. CIA and MI5 hacked Samsung smart TVs to spy on people even when the switch is off. WikiLeaks yesterday released Vault 7, which is a huge trove of more on Vault 7, which is a huge trove of information about the CIA's global hacking program. A big element that emerged from the release is the hacking of Samsung smart TVs and other makes of smart TVs also. However, this shouldn't come as much of a surprise. At one point in 2015, Samsung's privacy policy warned people do not talk about private conversations in front of their TVs. Now, I had to go find that. I said to myself, wait a minute. Samsung is actually in their privacy policy telling people that their products are spying on them and not to talk about private conversations in front of their TVs. I had to go find that. Well, could I find it? Found it right here. Samsung Smart TV Privacy Policy. This is verbatim. Do not discuss personal information in front of your TV. And then it gets into this YKV3DW code that's in their codes. Okay? So I had to go find that, and I made the mental note for myself. WikiLeaks continues. The attack against Samsung smart TVs and other makers was developed in cooperation with the United Kingdom's MI5 BTSS. So in other words, my friends, MI5 and MI6 are like the Secret Service, if you would, of England. After infestation, Weeping Angel, that's the server that I was talking about earlier, places the target of TV in a fake off mode. So what are they saying in a fake off mode? What they're telling you, my friends, is that literally you think your TV is off. It's not off. It's a fake off mode so that the owner falsely believes the TV is off when it is actually on. The fake off mode, the TV operates as a bug, recording all conversations in the room and sending them over the internet to a covert CIA server. And we just mentioned the name of that server to you, Weeping Angel. You can read about all the files at Weeping Angel, and I don't have time to do it. I'm about to use too much time, my friends. Interestingly enough, this really shouldn't shock the public. The CIA has been very open about interest in hacking appliances. Really. They've been very open, huh? Ha ha ha, that's funny. Well, they haven't been very open, but others have discovered it. Here we go. Amazon Echo connected to the CIA. A new video shows a woman asking Amazon Echo a slew of questions about the CIA, which it answers. But what happens when she answers, Alexa, are you connected to the CIA? There is silence. And then it gets into, basically, my friends, and we shouldn't be surprised by this. Again, I'm running out of time. I've spent too much time talking about other things, but we shouldn't be surprised about this. Because some notes I made. Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, who just bought the Washington Post recently, has been connected to the CIA for a long, long time. In 2013, Bezos bought the Washington Post, as I just said, and then, folks, shortly after that, Bezos clinched a $600 million contract with the CIA. The contract was supposed to be a deal for Mr. Bezos and his web-based business to build a CIA, listen to this, private cloud for intelligence data gathering. So understand something. Here's a guy who owns the Washington Post, the second most circulated paper in the United States, and he has a contract, a working relationship for buku money, buku dollar, with the CIA. Do you think he might be on the take with what you're reading from the Washington Post? However, Bezos buying the Washington Post may also be a CIA plan under Operation Mockingbird. Operation Mockingbird, my friends, we went over this some years ago. Operation Mockingbird started in the early 1950s as a large-scale program by the CIA to, now listen to this, to manipulate the news and media for propaganda purposes. And don't tell me that this guy's got it wrong, because I'm going to tell you right now he's got it right. Because all you got to do is go back to the 1970s, and you can get it on the internet and view the Church Committee hearings, and you will actually hear the CIA telling you. This is in the 70s. This is 40-something years ago that they were doing this. Okay. Amazon Echo come out in June of 2013. Amazon Echo has a major privacy concerns as reported by the USA Today. Amazon keeps an audio recording, listen to this, of every voice command you've issued to Alexa. According to Amazon, there is also a fraction of a second of audio before the wake word that is stored along with each recording. So, in other words, my friends, they are spying on everything. And this shouldn't be a surprise to you. Do you remember General Petraeus, not Pete Petraeus, Petraeus? Remember Petraeus coming out and saying, hey, we're going to watch you from your refrigerators, from your washing machines, from all of your appliances. We are watching and studying and recording your life habits. We read that to you verbatim maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 5 or 6, whatever it was. But we read that quote to you verbatim. Don't think they're not doing it. They're doing it. They're admitting to you they're doing it. Okay, some more. WikiLeaks dark matter releases CIA exposes hacking of Apple devices. CIA documents published recently by WikiLeaks Thursday reveals the use by the agency against all Apple cell phones and computers. Dubbed Operation Dark Matter. The documents, a new addition to WikiLeaks' ongoing Vault 7 dump, details hacks developed for iPhones and for MacBooks as far back as 2008. These documents explain the techniques used by the CIA to, and this is why I'm not going to go over it, my friends, because I do not have the education, I do not understand the terminology to break all this down. So I'm going to give you a broad brush here of what people who do are going to tell you. These documents explain the techniques used by the CIA to gain persistence, that's what they're calling it, persistence, on all Apple Mac devices, including Macs and iPhones, and demonstrate their use of EFI and UEFI and firmware malware. Have no idea what all that is. By targeting the firmware, though, I can read this to you, the CIA hackers remain in control of an infected device even if the target wipes the data and reinstalls a new operating system. Again, I have no idea how to do that. One such tool, known as Sonic Screwdriver, I bet you they had a lot of fun naming that, is, according to the CIA, a mechanism for executing code on peripheral devices while a Mac laptop or desktop is booting, by providing a target with a compromised peripheral device as an Apple Thunderbolt 2 Ethernet adapter, again, no idea, folks, which stores sonic screwdriver in its firmware. The CIA can gain persistence even when a firmware password is enabled on the target computer. In 2008, document discussing an attack on iPhone called Night Skies reveals a malicious implant that would physically be installed on any new device. One method of deploying the hack could potentially involve intercepting all iPhones before it reaches its target. So what does the CIA have to say about all this? The American public should be deeply troubled by any WikiLeaks disclosure designed to damage the intelligence community ability to protect you. You shouldn't be upset that they're spying on you, putting together portfolios about you and your children and everything about you. No. You should be upset that WikiLeaks is letting you know they're doing it. That's what they're saying. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. You shouldn't be upset that they're spying, collecting data on you secretly, listening to your most intimate conversations, all of it. You shouldn't be upset that they got a portfolio on you. They know everywhere you're going, what you're doing, all of it. You shouldn't be upset about that. You should be upset with Mr. Julian Assange because he is letting you know they're doing that, because now they can't protect you because they don't know everything about you. What was it that Samuel Adams said? Necessity is the cry of tyrants. Let us continue. What have I always said to you about anything with regards to studies? I have always said to you, follow the money trail. Oh, by the way, you know, if I do this, did you see that Southern Poverty Law Center come out with? That if you use the AOK symbol now, remember I told you a couple of weeks ago, or maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, that this meant something completely in Arabia and Persia, and this meant AOK here in the Western world? Well, now, according to Southern Law Poverty Center and some others, this is a W that stands for white supremacy now. So don't do this, folks. Your children will get suspended for school because they're white supremacists because they went AOK. Do you know why they started that? Because when Mr. Trump's making a point, what does he do? He does this. So now, now these snowflakes, these wackos, are going to actually think that he's a white supremacist because he's using the AOK sign. I've always told you, though, folks, global warming, all the rest of it, right? And we've got into how they fixed all the data and everything else. But I've always said to you, always check out who's funding the studies, where they getting their money from. Because how it works is this. They don't say to these people, we want you to this criteria within these parameters and find out what you get for an answer. No, 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 no. They say to these people, here's the answer we want. You develop the formula and the criteria to get the answer we're looking for. You see? Fake science. They've reversed the procedurals of coming to a scientific, conclusive answer. That you can not only substantiate, but you can duplicate. So they change it around. Follow the yellow brick road. Remember the Wizard of Oz? Follow the yellow brick road. We haven't got into that in a long time. The Wizard of Oz, my friends, was about the coming money system. All you munchkins, all you little people, follow the yellow brick road. What the hell's a yellow brick, folks? It's gold. Wizard, one who deceives. Oz is Latin for the basic measurement, means ounce, the basic measurement of all commodities. The Wizard of Oz, one who deceives on the basic measurement of commodity. Follow the yellow brick road. The three are the American people, right? The scarecrow, if I only had a brain, right? The lion, if I only had courage. The Tin Man, T period, I period, N period in the script, taxpayer identification number. Didn't exist in 1906 when that was written. But Mr. Bonham was a very close friend of Mr. Paul Warburg, and he knew he wouldn't be allowed to write a book explaining what was coming, so he made it into a child's fairy tale. So it would get by the censors of the federal government and the industry. Interesting. Someday we're going to have to go back and review that. But then it gets into the poppy fields. That was all the dope they were going to be bringing into the country. And they have, and they are, and they'll continue to it. And make a lot of profit and restrict your liberties because we got this terrible drug problem. See? Okay, let's continue. I got to be quick. Top British universities caught producing fake research in over 300 studies. Hundreds of allegations of fake research conducted at some UK's top universities were reported between 2011 and 2016. According to figures released by the 23 of Britain's 24 Russell Group universities, the scale of the fraudulent research is much higher than the official Research Council's UK statistics study. The figures reveal over 300 allegations, including plagiarism and fabrication. Official data, however, suggests only 30 cases were actually reported between 2002 and 2015. Gee, I wonder why. In response, the House of Commons and Science and Technology Committee has launched an inquiry to reassure the public that its monitoring system is still robust. It's robust. It's full of dung. You're damn right it's robust. And they're going to sell you for more taxes to regulate your life, carbon taxes, all the rest of it, on fake science. Where research has been found to be fraudulent at a later point, it has a large impact on the public and it leads to mistrust. What we want to do is investigate just how robust the mechanisms are for reensuring that the research is ethical, it is accurate, and to a degree reproducible. What did I just say to you about having to reproduce and duplicate? According to it, and not duplicate it, but to a degree. See, what are you going to accept for lies? According to the new data, around a third of the allegations are plagiarism, fabrication, piracy, and ethical misconduct. Oh boy, and folks, I'm going to stop here, but anyway, I think you get the gist of it. I'm running out of time. I know you get the gist of it. And by the way, speaking of fake science, how about this? Here's some real fake science for you. Vaccines. You know, I had a conversation with a friend of mine this morning at 7 o'clock this morning, which lasted till about 8:30, 8:20. And we started talking about all this fake science. And I asked him, I said, Steve, look up SV40, seminal virus 40 in the vaccines. And he said, what is it? I said, it's a cancer agent. They put it into 300 million people from 1964 on. That's just one thing. But now it's so bad. Are you ready for this? Vaccine industry goes nuclear and push for a new law that would deny you your job if you are not vaccinated. Now, this has become a quasi-policy in the American medical field right now. NVRH, Northeastern Vermont Regional Hospital here in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. They'll tell you their official policy is, oh, you can get waivers and all this stuff. Well, my wife doesn't want to be vaccinated. Matter of fact, my wife's in the medical field. She'll tell you that most people that get the flu shots, guess what? Get the flu. NVRH, our official policy is you can get these waivers. Well, my wife has provided waivers. And then they tell you, well, we'll give it to our attorney, to separate one from one's property. We'll give it to our attorney and he'll come to a decision. Wait a minute. Your official policy is, I got a waiver from my pastor and I got a waiver from myself. 2 out of the 3 that you mandate are available to me, and that attorney turns it down without any subsequent hearing from my wife or anything, under the threat of the duress of her job, and she's been there for decades. So now the vaccine industry is going farther. The vaccine, North Carolina Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, a Republican, has introduced new legislation taken to its logical end. It might eventually have provisions for employees to force their employees to be vaccinated under the guise of wellness. House Resolution 1313, known as Preserving Employee Wellness Programs Act. Do you ever notice how they got this Orwellian ability to bring in these, like the Freedom to Farm Act, which destroyed most of the family farms in this country, the Patriot Act, which took away your liberties and actually walked against true American patriots. I could go Homeland Security, I can go on and go on and go on. They always have these beautiful Orwellian names. Well, my friends, I'm running out of time, but the thing is here, H.R. 1313 is about for you to be mandate that you have vaccines or you will not be able to work and produce for your family. Let us continue. Most of you know who this character is. After all, he called you all apathetic and stupid. And if you're here in Vermont, you better know who this guy is, because after he did call everybody, all the American people, apathetic and stupid, the state of Vermont hired him to put together their single-payer program, which the computer system just couldn't get done. Isn't that amazing? They couldn't get the Obamacare system done. Vermont couldn't get its computer system up and running, but they can spy on you, record all your conversations, everything in the digital world, everything in the physical world, but we just can't get this Obamacare up and running. Here we go. I don't want a nation of thinkers. I want a nation of workers. John D. Rockefeller. 1903. It has been documented that former slave and abolitionist Harriet Tubman said, "I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed thousands more if they only knew they were slaves." You know, and that makes me think of Johann Goethe. None are more helplessly enslaved than those who falsely believe they are free. That's the American people. Let us continue. I don't have a time for all this. Senator John Glenn, Americans just want us not to be concerned if they be constitutionally justified. Well, I'm an American, and I'm extremely concerned if what you're doing, Mr. John Glenn, is constitutionally justified. And it wasn't constitutionally justified that, you helped set up Al-Qaeda and all ISIS and all the rest of them. Jonathan Gruber. This by written in a tortured way to make sure CBO did not score the mandate as taxes. Lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. To who? To you and me, or to them? To them. This guy's right here, folks. He cost you millions of dollars if you lived in the country at all. And if you lived in Vermont, he cost you millions upon millions of dollars. Nice smiling guy here, huh? Looks real innocent, doesn't he? I'm waiting for his name to come up in the pedophilia ranks, folks, because I know it's not far. And let me continue with his lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. And basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever, but basically, that was really, really critical for this thing to pass. Then in another statement, he was speaking at a public forum, he said, having the American people in a state of ignorance and, stupidity, not ignorance. Stupidity and apathy was a benefit to getting Obamacare passed. But here, this public statement, he says, the lack of transparency was a huge political advantage, and basically, call it the stupidity of the American voter or whatever, but basically that was really, really critical for this thing to pass. Unbelievable. I'm running out of time. There was one thing I did want to catch on this thing here. And this is biblical, Jeremiah 5:21. There is nothing which I dread so much as a division of the republic into two great parties, each arraigned under its leader, and its concerning measures in opposition to each other. This, in my humble apprehension, is to be dreaded as the greatest political evil under our Constitution. President John Adams, and he was taking his quote from Jeremiah 5:21. Unbelievable. Folks, I'm not going to have the time to do all this. I'm very, very, very sorry. There's some more quotes how they called you stupid. Heinz Kissinger, military men are dumb, stupid animals to be used as pawns for our foreign policy. When will the American people ever grow up? Karl Rove, you can study what we do, and all we will do is create another reality for you. Come on, folks. Come on. Unbelievable. Just unbelievable. So what we were talking about, this whole thing here that I didn't get into was, and let me just back up. George Orwell, Eric Blair. Anything at all, it means the right to tell the people what they do not want to hear. In times of universal deceit, telling the truth will be a revolutionary act. And Tyrus, and many of you out there, Tyrus from Arizona, that's why I am so excited that you took the time to contact us all the way from Arizona and you're watching the show the way you are. Because I know you're doing some diligent research. And they want us to be ignorant and dumbed down. Do you remember that quote we had from Bertrand Russell, I think it was 1954, about how the student, when it gets done with the school system, will not be able to think on his own and will only react as his schoolmaster desired? Remember that quote we read to you? Well, look what's going on in academia. Kids can't count change, can't read. They got a 4th grade reading level as compared to 1964 when the federal government took over education. They can't reason, they can't think, they can't do math. They can't even play a game of cribbage with you with this Common Core math. They can't count change. Then they certainly can't reason, can they? These snowflakes, folks, this academia, this high-priced indoctrination centers are doing exactly what they were set out to be done. They have dumbed us down, and not only that, they have controlled our mechanisms of reasoning. We do not know how to go through a reasoning process anymore. We do not know how to lose anymore. And what I mean by that is when you lose, what do? You get up and figure out, you get up again, figure out what went wrong, and go at it again until you get it right. Okay, folks, I'm running out of time. This next topic, anyone who's been watching this program knows I have a very hard time with this. And I'm only touching on it lightly every once in a while because I applaud Mr. Trump for what he's doing with this. He's arrested well over 3,000 elite pedophilia now. And this is an interview that was done by a British investigative journalist by the name of Ross Kemp. And I got this, my friends, if you wish to read the whole thing, at northwestlibertynews.com. How does a man live with himself doing such things? What is he talking about? Headline: Human trafficker confesses on camera to murdering between 400 and 500 little girls. How does a man live with himself doing such things? Ross Kemp, a British investigative journalist, interviewed a self-professed sex child trafficker from India in 2013. If confessing to child trafficking were not enough, the man in the interview claims to have killed at least and somewhere in between 400 to 500 little girls. The man in the interview is referred to as Mr. Khan. Most child traffickers are embarrassed and will not confess to such depravity, but not Khan. He is on record confessing, listen to this, to selling thousands and thousands of children into sex slavery and killing hundreds that he was not able to sell. According to Mr. Kemp, Khan started his career as bait in a honey trap, convincing young girls that he would marry them and then quickly sell them off once he got them into the cities. Khan explained. He worked as a honey trap, so he'd go into a village, shower a girl and her family with gifts. He'd say he was going to take her away somewhere lovely, but as soon as he had her on a train, she would be drugged. She would wake up in a bed and be gang raped and then forced into prostitution through shame, without the ability to get back home. Mr. Khan has been trafficking for over 7 years and has over 75 other traffickers working for him and being investigated for over 25 different offenses. He admitted to trafficking between over 3,000 and 4,000 girls. However, he has never been charged for any of his crimes. Why do you think that is? Because the Just Us system is protecting these people. How do you think Bill Clinton, at 24 occasions, recorded occasions, can go to Jeffrey Epstein's pedophilia island, leaving all his security detail back in the States, and then go there with no one saying a peep? How is it that Cynthia McKinney on the congressional floor reported DynCorp trafficking children? How is it that over 1,500 children from the state of Florida, DCF, in 1 year went missing? No one said a thing, no investigation, no one charged. I'm going to tell you why, because all these elite people, it's like a badge of honor to them. And the upper echelon elite, they use this as leverage over all these people, the politicians, the judges, the legislators, all of them, the media, all of them. They find sick, depraved people, evil, depraved people, and they put them in positions of power, and they orchestrate everything they do because they have this on them. Let us continue. We go to poor communities. The girls are auctioned and go to the highest bidder. He said that 1 million taka was the most he had gotten for a girl. That's roughly, folks, when I looked it up, about $12,000. Khan was accused of selling girls as young as 9 years old. When asked if he'd returned girls to the community if there was not enough outrage over a girl that went missing, Khan said that he would never return her. Kemp then asked him if it was true that he would not return them because he would kill the girls. If the girls try to run away or if there's trouble with any of the girls, then the girls are killed and buried, said Kemp. If our bribed police can't handle it, it goes to the CID and then we kill the girls. So you've got police, you got the justice system being paid off, running child sex trade, DynCorp, many others. Nobody even being charged with a crime, going to jail, and not a word of it in the mainstream media. Why? Because everybody that's in the justice system, everyone that's in the media, not everyone, but the people in the upper position that partake in this evil, depraved, they have them, folks. You see? That's why when Mr. Trump has arrested over 3,000 elite pedophilia, there's not one article in any of the papers. That's why. When asked if he would continue killing young girls, Khan said, "If I'm having problems, I'll have to carry on the killing." At that point, Mr. Kemp stared at Khan, whose head remained bowed the entire time. This is the only picture I could find of this creep, folks. Let me back up. At that point, Kemp is the interviewer, stared at Khan, whose head remained bowed the entire time, and said, "Done with him. I'll kill him." Kemp admitted to being shocked at the confession. He would later write, "I'm not supposed to be judgmental, but this was one of the times I found it very hard not to." He was trying to justify the killings of these young children by saying he would have been killed himself if he didn't do it. He was wearing gold jewelry and rings on his fingers, driving a very nice car with bodyguards. Kemp wrote after the interview, "I just had to say, get him out of my sight. I'm so mad and loathing for this man, I can't tell you." Kemp claims the multiple sources have confirmed that Khan is what he says he is, and Kemp believes that Khan has told him the truth. My friends, this is what we're up against. This is the level of depravity, of evil, that is in this system that is protecting these people, that is not exposing these people, and that is also participating in the acts of child sex slave trade and pedophilia. There's nothing more that makes my blood boil. Not that I'm a bonded piece of chattel to these international bankers. Chattel, movable property which has been liened. Not that Senate Document 43 collateralized all of my properties. That's why I have certificates for everything. Not that the law has been changed from a common law, constitutional, biblical-based law system to one of corporations. Not that the Just Us Department, which the federal government's not supposed to be in law enforcement at all, is running rampant not only through our country but the world for that matter. Not that the education system doesn't teach or educate, it just merely indoctrinates at an incredibly high price to me. Not that my job and my wife's job is under duress because we're being forced at the duress of our jobs to be vaccinated with toxins, and in the meantime having to sign a waiver so we can't go after the employers that are mandating these vaccinations. Not that our lack of money system is the script of a for-profit private banking corporation that my children and all throughout my genealogy, your children are bonded to as a co-surety. Not that all my liberties and rights are being chipped away and or have been taken away. Not that the government is using technology to spy, record, and create a portfolio about all of us. Not that I am regulated in my travel to build a house, to put in a septic system, to get a job. I have to pay fees, licenses, and all so forth just for the basic necessities of my life and to provide for my family. That bothers me all. But what bothers me most, my friends, is that the American people are so apathetic and so cowardly that they do nothing when thousands and thousands of children are placed by the United States government and their corporations and their agencies into child sex slavery. What does that say about how well their indoctrination system has worked on the American people? My friends, we are very, very thankful you take the time from your busy day to watch our program. We always close in asking you to seek truth, to obtain knowledge, to manifest kindness to your fellow man. But we always close in reminding you that your government is your responsibility. Thank you for watching.
Got to read between the lines.